Today we're going to discuss my vision of Call of Dragons. That's right. I'm going to talk about suggestions and potential improvements that I would love to see in Call of Dragons that would honestly help so many players, free to play, low spenders, and even spenders, just enjoy and embrace Call of Dragons and hopefully bring this game back from the ashes because it's slowly dying and we don't want it to obviously hit rock bottom. So let's see what we're able to provide as some feedback as a content creator. Hello everyone, yeah, smash like, comment and subscribe for more daily videos. Me, MrSneakyy, the one and only, and we're going to be diving into suggestions and improvements for Call of Dragons, and we're going to go straight in with the hero screen. We're going to talk about heroes and obviously things that they could definitely do to improve the experience for all of us, right? Because the thing is, I have played, guys, over, just to give you guys a nice idea of what we're talking about here, I have played this game for over now 638 days, which is crazy to think someone's been able to play and log in and compete every single day, you know, on Call of Dragons as a pretty much super low spender now for this game, not really putting anything in anymore compared to what we used to do. And what I've noticed, as everyone knows, is the heroes, right? It's so hard for heroes to be obtained or just upgraded in general. Plus, it's really hard to kind of customize and use your heroes however you like, which I think is really bad just progress, right? So everyone knows straight away, the first things first is skill lock, right? We already know skill lock is supposed to be coming to the game. So this should be appearing in the next season according to the devs' information they've given us publicly on Discord and through videos in the past. So this should hopefully come soon, and that would be one really good improvement to put in, because skill lock is going to allow players like myself to potentially fix certain heroes like my Freyguard. I would love to have my Freyguard, to be honest, be 555 and then 1. For my Sinjon, it would benefit him a much more, in my opinion, right? But that would be one really great suggestion straight away that needs to be fixed. One other one is your talent pages. Talent pages are one of the most fundamental things in this game. And the thing is, with a talent page, they are so complicated. And to be honest, you could do a load of different things with each talent page. But the problem is, it costs 1,000 gems. And this shouldn't be happening, guys. I don't think you should make players pay gems to change a hero talent page. We've seen other games do this, right? And other games, even like Tarisland, allows you as a player to change your talents, your inscribed stone, which are all these kind of points similar to your talent page here, for free. You can just reset and go again as many times as you want. And the thing is, with your heroes, it's super important to be able to do that, because each hero has obviously different trees, and being able to get access to any tree at any time is super important, and it could actually increase the viability for some heroes to get used then, because you're not worried about having to have just Magrat on a precision tree. You could have her on something else, switch it about again, depending on the marksman deputy you're going to be running. This is what's really cool about talent pages, that honestly is restricting players from just creating some really interesting builds, instead of kind of working on what we call the staple builds, where we kind of have like either 2 trees like so, or we kind of run a all-in tree with then the extra little points dumped into better, stat points, if that makes sense, per point. So I would love to see something like that added in. The next thing what I'm going to talk about is actually hero acquisition, right? So we kind of obviously touched, it's so hard to obtain heroes in Call of Dragons, right? If we look at just gold key commanders on my account, remember, 634 days, I have a 5-3-3-2 Emrys. We have 5-3-2-4 on Fear. 5-3-5-2 Garwood. Then we've got 5-4-2-3 Bakshi. We then have Valen, which is 5-5-3-3. And then we have 5-4-5-5 on Nika. And Nico, as you guys know, recently, very recently, within the last 2 weeks, was awakened, guys, right? So this was a massive deal for me because it took so long to get him done. But he is awakened, right? And as you can tell, it's so hard to get heroes, because the problem is the only way to get these heroes is obviously through the gold chests, right? No player is honestly investing their legendary sculptures into these heroes because, to be honest, they're not the best heroes in the game. And anytime you max one of these heroes off, obviously there's no way you can obviously scrap those sculptures off to get any sort of benefit. So if you do max Emrys out and you keep getting Emrys tokens, you don't get any benefit for it as of now. So it's really bad to do so. So what you could do instead, as you can imagine, is look to the Dragon Trials, because players such as myself have a awakened Indis. And when you complete your Indis and she is awakened, what happens is it becomes double purple and a blue. And what I would actually love to see would be more like a weekly rotational shop. So what that would mean is where Alwyn is for this entire week could be Valen. And you could buy Valen sculptures here once you've awakened your Indis and start working on your gold key commanders. Because by the time you start doing this, as you can imagine, you've probably entered season 2 and 3. So a lot of your gold key commanders are going to start getting just outclassed easily just by the more minimal investments in generational 3 or 4 heroes, for example. So just being able to get them bumped up even quicker and expertise allows players to actually use something more competitive while they are still working on the newer commanders and not just always going straight to the new stuff every single time. So I would love to see the Dragon Trial store being able to have a weekly rotation hero here. So every gold key commander would be on a rotation. So it could go a mage hero, cavalry hero, infantry hero, archer hero. You know, they could do the exact same way they do even the, you know, lucky spins, right? The ordering of that. It doesn't matter, but they could have an order, let it go through the weekly spin, and just let players, after they've got Indis, max out. So I think this would be a really good decision for the game. It would allow the game to be classed as a lot more free to play friendly, and I think a lot of players would actually give the devs a really big W for doing so. So let's go on to the next one. So gems, as you guys know, gem acquisition is really hard to do as a free-to-play player, because the only way you're able to get gems, to be honest, as a free-to-play player, is through the events in the game. So completing all of these different style of events that you're trying to do, you're going to get them through there. Potentially they might drop from, you know, achievements that you might complete for completing stuff as well, and as well as your alliance gifts, right? Your alliance gifts does give you the potential chance of getting them, even though we have a couple of expired somehow. But we've got all of these. You can see you can get some gems potentially through your alliance chests. The only other way you're going to be able to get gems is gathering, and this is kind of what I would love to see improved. You only get, I believe, 1,000 gems per week, which means someone calculated it. I think you can get on per year around 42,000 worth of gems, something like that you're able to farm, which I just think is kind of laughable, right? Because that is just nowhere near enough gems to play Call of Dragons, right? So I would just love to see the gem mines being able to be mined, right? Allowing players to mine something like 5,000 gems a week for free-to-play players is amazing, because the thing is, what a lot of the devs don't realize is they're scared that if they allow players to farm gems, they're not going to get as much money into the game. But the problem is, spenders really do not have the time, and they really cannot be bothered to farm gems. They really cannot, guys. They don't farm them. I could probably look at some players, like, let's look at Chitty, for example, 112 million. And if we just go onto the more info tab, resources gathered, he's gathered over 278 gems. This is what I'm saying, like, the spenders don't gather gems. The only people this is going to affect is your free-to-play player base. And the cool thing is, the more free-to-play player friendly your game is, the more player base increases and the more spenders join them. Because spenders generally want to play the game where the players are at, right? Because that's where the community is, and they can actually play the game and enjoy it with free-to-players and their own spenders alike, right? So I would love to see the gem limit being even just increased, like I say, maybe to 5,000 a week, just to try it out. Or maybe, even if that's too much, try 3,000 a week, right? Just something just to give players more gems, because it is one of the most important parts for a free-to-play player, and it would make them want to actually prioritize farming gems a lot more often now if they're able to get a decent amount without this stupid capacity limit. So let's go into the next one. So we're here to talk about artifacts, right? Because there's two things I'd love to see improved straight away on artifacts. Actually, three things for artifacts, now I'm mentioning it. So the first thing I'd love to see is obviously the acquisition of artifacts just to be easier, right? Because artifacts are just insanely hard to get in this game. And the thing is, you need to get artifacts and then get them another 5 times, or 4 times, should I say, to level them up to their max skill rating, which is just so hard to do for the biggest artifacts like Spiritbone Talk, Gilded Crossbow, and so forth. So what I would love to see in these Riches of the Forest, or even in the Forge of Light event, maybe in that one specific event where he's only got 2 artifacts compared to the Riches of the Forest with 4, but with those 2 artifacts that you put up, I would love to see some quests. Put some quests on to allow every player, no matter free-to-play spender or high spender, to earn at least like 20 keys, guys. It doesn't sound, it sounds a lot in, perspective, but 20 keys is not enough. Because normally it does take on average around 80 keys to unlock that one artifact. So because of that, you're kind of giving them a quarter of the progress. So they could potentially unlock it by being lucky, or if they save those keys up through 1, 2, 3, 4 Forge of Light events plus scrapping keys, they're going to be able to then actually invest into a artifact and potentially try and get a second property of it later down the line, which is really, really good, again, for spenders and free-to-players, because spenders would not mind just completing a couple of quests just to get some extra spins, plus spending already probably the excess needed to max out that artifact, right? They're gonna do it no matter what. So I would love to see that getting added in. Also coming into this is your insight rune. As you guys know, the insight rune, when you complete the actual rewards for this, you do get access to being able to choose the Shadow Blades, the Soulander Blade, the Tear of Arbon, and the Dragon Rift, as well as you're going to be able to choose 2 city skins, right? So with these 2 city skins, as you guys know, I believe it's the 4 of Flame Fang, as well as Arctic City. I think it's these 2 if I remember off the top of my head, right? So that's what you get to choose from. Once you've got all of those artifacts maxed out, to be honest, you're not really getting too much out of it, apart from excess material to 6-star over artifacts. And what I would love to see, again, in here, is maybe a weekly or a seasonal sort of rotation where maybe if you've completed all of those artifacts you know, a different set of artifacts come online. So maybe like the Kingslayer is there, Viola's bow, the hammer might be there. You know what I'm saying? Like Fang of Ashikari, or even these ones, like, you know, any of the artifacts that are in the actual, you know, artifact chest areas. If you just go to the summit area, so if you go to probability, any of these artifacts you see here could be as a reward in that insight room, right? And I think it'd be really nice for players to be able to choose a bigger selection than they currently have. Again, it would allow players to get more access to artifacts and level up artifacts they've won, and obviously specialize in a troop type they want to play as. So I would love to see that getting added into the game. So War Pits is one of these areas that everyone kind of wants to keep trying to love, but every time they try to love it, there's always just something that's wrong. And the main issue with War Pits, as you guys know, is just the capture ability of them, right? If you're in a new home kingdom, new season, you're gonna get 2 war pets every day. It is crazy that you're only allowed to capture 2 war pets per day. And this is a massive problem, especially with the war pet mechanic being such a grind, where you're trying to get different war pets and then you're still obviously working on war pets to try and get them, you know, to a decent level. As you can see, this one's the new one I'm working on. I'm trying to go for a super crit build for it. But you can see how it's so impactful and it takes so long for war pets to just get to any sort of level for any general player without, again, super spending. And that's all down to the way you capture war pets. So I would love an increase in general relativity in war pets. And a way you could do this, and a lot of players might not like this, right? I might just say, look, you can have 5 war pets per day, which is nice, right? But what I would like to kind of see, and it's a weird one, but a bundle, right? So you know how we have these monthly packs, right? And we have the supply station, and we have all of these different bundles, right? So I would love like a monthly bundle, right? Where it might be 249 or 449, whatever one they want to pick, just one of these cheap prices for 30 days, and in that 30 days you're able to get like plus 10, literally an insane amount of war pet captures for doing so, and then give you more obviously regeneration potions and maybe a bunch of stuff tailored only towards that war pet area, because again, certain things in that war pet area, such as, you know, expansion slots, is going to cost you gems. This could be added in as that battle pass. Stuff like, again, your skills, right? If you go to your skill area, this could be added in again through just the bundles. So you could use, obviously, these like I'm using from, you know, selling the pets, but you could also add them in the battle pass too. So you could see like how a battle pass kind of system would happily allow players, right, to get access to this mechanic on a very cheap way and just let everyone experience it. And I think that would be one actually good thing that I think the devs would like and players would, even though it is a little bit pay to win because it is a battle pass for like 449. I think it's the best way to balance it so low spenders and spenders can both get access to a really good quality of life mechanic that it should, to be honest, just have in Call of Dragons. So let's go to the next one. So, behemoths are kind of crazy, as you guys know. The longer and longer you play Call of Dragons, the same behemoth you might have fought in Season 1 just becomes infinitely stronger. To the point where if you are in an alliance with very little T5s, you're just unable to actually kill the Hydra. And obviously they did add in the brand new mechanic where the longer and longer the season goes, the weaker and weaker the Hydras become, or whatever the behemoth is in that season, right? Which is a really nice change, I will admit. However, I would just like to see an easier fix without needing to do that. I would love to see the balancing of behemoths tied to a T4. So what I would mean by that is on a elite raid, so if we triggered the elite raid for this Hydra and we had the maximum HP and all the mechanics on screen, right? If one alliance full of T4 units with like really good tech, right? So just say like a 50 million power T4 player, almost there, getting into, you know, the bridges of stuff, right? But the T4 player alliance at elite difficulty should be able to complete this raid within the time limit. They might complete with only 1 or 2 seconds to spare, but that's really good. Just being able to complete it is really good. Because then what it allows all the other alliances with more and more and more T5 is to race it down then, right? The more T5 and the more better you technically are at skills with the mechanics and you know how to fit in that extra little DPS windows is where the speed running and the PvE behemoth meta could actually, you know, arise where people are actually competing against each other for these titles, or what should say, for these elite raid frames, and it'd be really, really good for the game. It allows, again, every player at all spectrums of the game to actually gain access and play the raid. So I would love to actually see this get added still into the game and making it a lot more balanced for players to take these different behemoths as they progress their career on Call of Dragons. So I couldn't mention this suggestion at all without finishing the video, and that is obviously Sentinel Arrows and your Rally Beacon. Jesus Christ, guys. Everyone knows to get this building to level 25 and to get your Watchtower to level 25, this is one of the hardest grinds in the game, and if you really want to do this seriously, I will tell you now, you are going to be spending gems. Don't try and stop yourself from it. You need to spend gems if you're trying to keep on the speed and the path to get T5 as fast as possible, right, on a T4 account, even as a free-to-play player. And that's a big problem. And the way they could fix that, as you guys know, is adding more events. And one thing I really wanted to actually mention was the summertime event. If you guys remember the event that's just gone, we had a really good summer event where when you killed these Darklings, right, you killed these Darklings and a event appeared. And that event could have been like a protect the village. It could be try and kill as many within the timer, kill a small behemoth. They made these little mini events from killing a Darkling, which was amazing. I actually thought that was a good actual step in the right direction. And I would actually like to see that event come back. And with that event, I reckon they should make it again 2 or 3 days long on purpose, and by completing that event and doing that event exclusively, you get all of your, you know, Rally Beacon treaties as well as your Sentinel Arrows. I think this would be a really good place to allow players to actually earn that right. And they could do this in a variety of ways, where when you're competing in that event, you gain a currency, right? So you could gain some sort of war medal, and with those war medals you can spend it in the shop to get all the arrows or all the treaties. There could be resources, speed ups as well, and if they wanted to be really nice, maybe, just maybe, if they were really generous in the store, they could even add the master blueprint, right? And what I mean by the master blueprint is 2,000 gems to buy this, and they could make this actually something where it's a crossover event. So if you really wanted to get a master blueprint from competing in this PvE event, you could, but it might take you 2, 3, or 4 events to farm completely maxed out, or maybe even 5. Completely max out that event 5 times. Don't spend any of the coins, and by doing so, you have basically used your patience and you can buy the master blueprint. So I would love different ways as well to just allow free-to-play players to actually earn, as you can see, things that actually progress their account and they actually need to progress their account, which is the Sentinel arrows, the actual master blueprints, as well as the treaties, right? So those 3 different mechanics definitely need improving on. This could be done in a variety of ways too, improving just drop rates in forts. We could go on and on and on, and to be honest, there's so many more suggestions we could go off on, right? We could talk about migration, right? We could talk about the brand new season, the fact that new season should have 3 behemoths and not 2 behemoths for just new content wise, and how a formula would work a lot better, right? We could talk about so many more suggestions, and I'd love to hear your suggestions in the comments down below on what you would love to see get added to Call of Dragons. If you liked my ideas here on all the different topics we've talked about so far on today's video, and if you did, smash like, comment, and subscribe, guys. Until my next video, stay safe, stay sneaky, and peace out.